Good evening, America. Happy Tuesday. Welcome to the latest edition of Just the News, No Noise. I'm your host, John Solomon, reporting to you from the nation's capital, where a heavy dose of accountability was meted out today. We start with a bombshell report that we started about 5 a.m. this morning on Just the News. The House Oversight Committee has deemed that former President Joe Biden's Autopen orders, including some pardons, were, quote unquote, invalid, legally invalid. And it's asked the Justice Department to investigate. Attorney General Pam Bondi has since taken the committee up on that request. The findings come from a probe the House Oversight Committee launched earlier this year. They interviewed lots of President Biden's inner circle aides and found that, well, a lot of them didn't really know what he was up to. In fact, one of the most important positions in the White House staff secretary, who handles all the paper, makes sure it's proper, she said she didn't interact with President Biden for 6 to 8 weeks at a time, which means she didn't know who authorized the signature on many of the pages. Oversight Chairman James Comer is going to join us in a few seconds to talk about that bombshell revelation, and we're going to try to pin him down on exactly which pardons and exactly which executive orders he wants Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, to invalidate. We're going to get to that in a second. Another piece of major news. We've been following this Arctic Frost story for over 2 years now. It's an investigation by the FBI into the top tiers of the Republican Party and the MAGA movement. Today, the GOP-led House Judiciary Committee revealed new documents from the FBI Director Kash Patel that show that more than 160 Republicans, you heard that number right, 160 Republicans were being targeted by the probe. That's a lot more than previously known. We knew there were 92 groups, 8 senators, 1 House member, obviously President Trump and Vice President Mike Pence, but 160 people were on the target list, and there's also significant evidence that Congress, the January 6th Democrat-led committee, the president often calls it the Unselect Committee, it was feeding information behind the scenes to the FBI, trying to egg on that investigation. We're going to get to all of that throughout the course of the show, and we got a good one for you today, including the EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin. We're going to get to all of that, but let me bring in quickly my amazing co-host, Amanda Head. 160 people. This wasn't an investigation. It was a MAGA dragnet.
Yeah, that is exactly the word that I was thinking of, is dragnet. I feel like half of the guests who have come on this show have likely been pulled into this dragnet. And on the Biden Autopen, you know, Hunter Biden, his was anomalous. It was hand signed. And someone in the Biden White House, despite all of this possible malfeasance, but definitely incompetence, someone had the good sense to make sure that that one was hand signed. And I don't think that
there are no accidents.
No accident whatsoever. But
speaking of Hunter, in the report, he's attending a lot of the meetings where these pardons signed. So a guy convicted of tax and gun crimes, who himself is due to get a pardon, he's presiding over some of these meetings. No conflict there, right?
No, a potential pardonee.
I guess.
Pardon recipient. Sitting in on, I mean, basically pining for this from his own father. It's nepotism. It's corruption. It's malfeasance.
It's the way the Biden White House ran, and I don't think Joe Biden even knew it about it, to his defense. Well, earlier today, Amanda, you and I had a chance to sit down with the chairman, James Comer. He wrote this report. He led this investigation, meticulous detail in this report. Have a watch to what we talked about. We pinned him down on some pretty important stuff. All right, joining us now, the man behind that bombshell report released by Congress today that gave us just how incapacitated Joe Biden appeared to be, the chairman of the House Oversight Committee, Chairman James Comer. Sir, good to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me.
All right, this is truly a bombshell. When you take all the depositions, all the documents, all the records, it is pretty clear that Joe Biden wasn't even visible or available to his senior staff, and yet decisions were being made without him.
I've never seen anything like it, John. It was much worse than I would have thought. We knew it was bad. We all saw with our own eyes that Joe Biden was deteriorating fast with respect to his mental and physical capacity as president of the United States. We knew that, especially during the lame duck period, he was seldom seen or heard from. But once we started bringing in the inner circle, it was shocking that you had cabinet secretaries that seldom saw Joe Biden. You had his inner staff, his secretary, who in a normal president or executive secretary sees him multiple times a day. This one would see him, just a few times a month. Ian Sams, who was his White House spokesperson on all the investigations and everything, who would do daily press conferences, he only saw Joe Biden in person 2 times in 2 years. I mean, you can't make this stuff up, and you realize that this really was a shadow government, and you had a few people that were using the Autopen just like they were the president of the United States.
Stunning.
Well, and sir, you had multiple chiefs of staff who described the process as not precise. There were nonverbal, I guess, approvals by President Biden that completely went unrecorded. President Trump is not an Autopen type of president, but going forward for future presidents, shouldn't there be some type of standardized or formalized process for this?
Absolutely. I mean, I think anything that's a legal document, the president should have to sign. Obviously, you're going to use the Autopen for certificates of achievement, for mass letters, for correspondence. But with respect to legal document, a pardon, a presidential pardon is a powerful thing. If the president himself can't physically sign that pardon, there has to be a reason. Either the president didn't evaluate the pardon, or the president wasn't in a mental or physical shape to be able to sign his name. And you know, that's what we had here with Joe Biden. And you with a pardon, you're defining everything that happened in a court. In that you're defining the rule of law. One person has this authority, and that one person is the president of the United States. It's not the chief of staff. It's not the vice president. It's not the first lady. It's the president of the United States. It's the last check and balance in our judicial system. And what we found was Joe Biden, even by his own admission with the New York Times interview, didn't evaluate all those pardons. Every process was different. There were inconsistencies in what the senior staff said. The rules were that they applied by with using the Autopen. What the deposition said versus what the emails that later surfaced said with respect to the concern from the Garland Department of Justice on the excessive use of the Autopen. Everything was different. Everybody's stories were different. And I think what you see is a very loose White House with a deteriorating president where you had an overzealous staff that was using that Autopen without the authority from the president of the United States.
Stunning. So I want to ask about two things. Do you believe that there are people who misled the committee, didn't tell the truth based on the contrast between their testimonies and the evidence? And two, are there specific pardons or specific executive actions that you think are most invalidated by what your evidence shows?
Mm-hmm. I think that all the pardons should be declared null and void that were signed with the Autopen. These were all done during the lame duck period when Joe Biden was checked out. I think the executive orders that were done during the lame duck period should be declared null and void. If you look at the history of executive orders or pardons, a president always makes a statement at the very least. They're available to the press. To this day, Joe Biden has not answered his rationale or anything on those pardons, nor has he on the executive orders that were issued during the last few days of the Biden presidency. So I think that's a problem. You ask if anyone lied. I'm concerned about the cover-up of the president's health. You know, what we found was that several of the staffers that answered questions said, yes, we discussed whether or not to give Joe Biden a cognitive test because the media was asking about it and a lot of the Republican candidates were demanding it. But we determined that we shouldn't give him one. Now, I find that hard to believe. If you determine not to give him a cognitive test, it's either you didn't think he would pass it or he took it and failed it and you're lying about it. The same thing with Joe Biden's health. Did they test him for prostate cancer? Did he have prostate cancer? Were they covering it up? Did they give him a cognitive test? I think Dr. O'Connor has a lot of questions that he needs to answer. That's why we referred him to the medical board of Washington, D.C., because either he's a really bad doctor or he's not being truthful about his assessments of the president's health. And that's his job as a White House physician to inform the public as to whether or not the president of the United States is healthy and mentally fit to serve as president of the United States.
Sir, very quickly. So for folks like Dr. O'Connor, including Joe Biden's chief of staff, those people who pled the fifth, Does the DOJ have more tools in their tool chest other than the medical board referral that you talked about? Do they have more tools in their chest that can help compel more answers? And if so, what do you got to know?
Yes, and I think that the DOJ needs to take this and run. John, we've handed this to Pam Bondi on a silver platter.
Yep,
We've
sure
done
did.
all the heavy lifting. We've done the depositions. We've combed through the emails. I mean, this is the hard, tedious work of an investigation. Now it's up to her to bring these people in. If there's anything in the report that's inaccurate, if there's anything in the deposition that we reported that are mischaracterized, now here's your opportunity to try to defend the other position. If not, then the report is 100% accurate, and the pardons need to be declared null and void immediately. I would go further, but now this is me, and I would hold some of these people accountable for misrepresenting the president's health and for abusing their power as a bureaucrat in the White House that was essentially forging the president's name on pardons. I mean, you could ask a lot of questions. I know some of the people that were pardoned from Kentucky, these are wealthy Democrat donors. We heard from Jeff Zients that Hunter Biden was in the room where the decision making was taking place on the pardon. Look, I don't think we need to say any more on this show about Hunter Biden being in the room with pardons when people have the potential to maybe be paying for pardons. We didn't go that route. We just tried to investigate the Autopen and the president's health and mental fitness. But I think the Department of Justice could go a lot further. I mean, to have Hunter Biden in the room talking about any pardons, I mean, that's pretty bad in itself. But a guy that we proved, John, and you all have reported on many times, was taking money from our adversaries around the world, peddling access for his father's position as vice president of the United States. Having him in the room when you're issuing thousands of pardons with the Autopen, I mean, that's suspicious in itself.
It sure is, especially by that time he had been convicted of multiple felonies, too. It's
Absolutely.
just remarkable. Chairman, as always, you're doing amazing work. The ball has moved to the Justice Department. We're going to get answers here soon. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for the great work you all have done on this and all the other investigations that we've done on the Oversight Committee.
We sure appreciate your hard work as well and the time today as well. Thanks so much. All right, folks, we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, guess what? Rare earths are going to one day be mined on American soil. That's something that hasn't happened for a decade. The EPA Administrator, Lee Zeldin, is taking the lead in making sure that happens. He'll join us next after these messages. Hey, America, a new administration in Washington, D.C. has brought a lot of positive changes when it comes to fixing our broken healthcare system. But the truth is, if we want to make America healthy again, it starts at home. And that's where the Wellness Company comes in. You hear from the doctors on this network all the time. And their new Recharge product is a game changer. It's the only formula combining methylene blue and urolithin A, designed to power your brain, your cells, and your energy. Recharge enhances mental clarity and focus. It increases ATP production to fuel your cells and supports healthy aging with powerful antioxidants. It also strengthens your muscles, boosts endurance, and revitalizes damaged mitochondria, giving you clean, lasting energy without the crash. It's in convenient tablets. No mess, no blue tongue, just results you can feel. Go to twc.health/justnews and use that promo code JUSTNEWS to save 10%. That's twc.health/justnews, promo code Just News.